Well, Project Disciple Her really started out as a personal goal. My son, when my son was 8, we started this process with him where he went away camping with his dad and some friends for a weekend, and they talked about what it meant to be a godly man. And he was turning 13, and so we planned to do the same thing. And it was that year that I realized that Lexi was also turning 8, and that I wanted to begin the same kind of a process with her. So I started looking to see if I could find something that would be useful to me, something where I could, base those talks and that discussion with her on, and I couldn't find what I was looking for. I couldn't find the resources that I wanted. Everything that I found seemed to have such a cultural focus, and it had to do with what it was like in this culture right now. And I was looking for something that was more timeless and something that was more universal, that wouldn't matter what country she was raised in, it wouldn't matter what period she was raised in, but that the qualities that I was teaching her would be something that transcended time, culture, countries, all of that kind of thing. So that's where it all began, was just kind of me figuring out what I wanted to teach my daughter, because I didn't think that there was something available to me for that. And as I started working on the project, people started asking me if I would share it with them. Suddenly I realized that this was kind of a big deal and that I needed to share it with people. So I started working towards making it available and putting it in a format that it would be readily accessible, not just to the ladies at my church or something like that, but women around the world, because I could see the movement that could happen as a result of a whole bunch of moms putting forth this effort into their own daughters. As I think ahead about what a generation of girls who were raised in Disciple Her would look like, I think about children's ministries that have waiting lists for volunteers because there's so many girls wanting to get in. I think about the mission field being slammed with people who want to go. I think about girls reaching out and making a difference right where they are, in their own communities, in their own schools, in their own neighborhoods. Girls who will give up what it is that they want and give to somebody else, showing compassion to other people. I think about girls who make great choices, girls who not only choose what not to do, but that they choose the best option. And I think about girls who aren't confused by all the messages that the world gives them. They aren't confused by the ways that Satan twists the truth to make her believe lies or deceptions about herself, but that girls who believe who they are and they act accordingly because they know who God made them to be. A mom who participates in Project Disciple Her can expect to step away with a plan of action for herself. And the thing that I love about the project is that this is not a one-size-fits-all package. This is what you take it and what you make of it for your own family. Because what it looks like in your house is going to be different than what it looks like in my house. And what might work really well for me might not work really well for you. And that's what I love about it, is it's really flexible. I don't tell you what to believe. I tell you how to think about what you believe. I tell you how to turn around and use that. I give you ideas and strategies for how to make a plan for your daughter's growing up years, to insert intention every day, to create milestones, to build a team around your daughter. That's what you come away with, is a plan of action. And the results are going to come from whatever you invest in it. The project is delivered straight to your inbox. And what's great about that, I think, is that we're busy moms. And I know for myself and for my friends that getting ready to go to another activity can be really hard. Not only are you having to put on makeup and pick out something to wear, but you've got to work on babysitters and making sure everybody doesn't get sick and all of that kind of stuff. And we've eliminated all of those excuses, if you will. and I've sent the course straight to your mailbox. So you can sit on the couch with your hair tied up in your lounge pants. I don't care. Actually, I would love it if you did that. And that's one thing I think is revolutionary about it, is that you can get involved in a class like this and you can connect with other women digitally without adding a whole other event or activity to your schedule. And so you can do it on your own time, which is awesome. And it works really well for stay-at-home moms. It works well for working moms. And so I love that there's that flexibility with the program. Another thing that moms need to know going into Disciple Her is that this isn't something that you're going to sit down and do with your daughter necessarily. This is for you. This is to work out in your own mind, your own plan, your own ideas about what it means to raise a godly girl. You're going to do the work on yourself, and that's going to be able to translate into you knowing what to do with your daughter. It's not necessarily going to be worksheets or a Bible study that you do with your daughter, but it's going to be the basis and the foundation for what you want to teach your daughter. So every week at the beginning of the week of Project Disciple Her, you will get an email from me that alerts you that the course materials for that week are ready. And when you get that, you'll click on the link and you'll go to the secure members area of my website, where you're going to find several 10 to 15 minute videos. And those videos are going to be the delivery of the content. Below that, you're going to find PDFs, you're going to find slides and all kinds of resources to help you actually accomplish what you learned in the video. It's going to take you probably an hour to an hour and a half each week to work through the video series. And it's the kind of thing where you're talking about a 10-minute video at a time. So you can break that up over 3 nights and spend a little bit of time with it. You can sit down and do it all in one sitting. It's really up to you. One of the things that's important about Disciple Her is the community building that happens, and there's a couple of ways that we accomplish that. One is through a live call each week. We schedule a phone call, and you can actually get on the call on your computer, and that way there's a chat element as well, so that if you can't actually call in to get your question asked, you have a way of asking that question. But it's an opportunity for us to just get together once a week for an hour and talk about what we're learning, talk about how these things that we're learning and working through apply to us. And I get to answer your questions, and we just get to bond and get to know each other better in a live, informal environment. So that's one way that we do it. The other way that you can get involved and get to know the group is under each video series, under each unit, there's a section for comments. And so you can respond directly to that video and the things that you learned from that video. In addition, we have a private Facebook group that's for members only. And you can connect with each other there. You can connect with me there. We'll talk about how you're actually implementing what you learn, ask for prayer, bounce ideas off of each other. The way that I envision that Facebook group really taking off is as a 24/7 resource to us. I imagine in the Facebook group someday there's going to be a mom who's got a need at 2 o'clock in the morning, and she just is concerned about something, and so she reaches out, and there's somebody else who is up, who's part of the program, understands what she's trying to accomplish, and can answer that need right there in the moment. That's one of my dreams for that Facebook group, is that it just becomes that to people. To the mom who is concerned that she isn't qualified to disciple her daughter, I want to tell you a couple of things. One, it doesn't take a huge knowledge base. You don't have to have a degree in Bible. You don't have to be a pastor of a church. You don't have to be any of those kinds of things. What you need would be a faith in Jesus as your Savior, and a desire to learn and to honor him in your parenting. And I think that the rest of it, we work out. God is such a God of grace and a God who meets us right where we are. If that alone could be passed along to you and on to your daughters, I would feel like the work of Project Disciple Her is accomplished. We're going to work through what to teach her and how to look that up, how to learn that. So that part will come. In a year from now, I would love to have 1,000 moms who've participated in this course and have connected with each other digitally and are working on this in their own families. In 5 years, I would love to be meeting up with those moms and more around the country and putting on events where we take our daughters and we do life together. We go on a vacation, but it's a vacation with a purpose. And I see in 5 years our girls getting a vision for who they're supposed to be and how they're supposed to live for Christ in a way that is loving and reaches the people around them. In 10 years, I don't even know. I can't even imagine. I can't imagine where God could take this. But I hope he uses me.
Why are you crying?
I'm crying because God doesn't call the qualified. God calls people who, all throughout Scripture, he calls people who messed up, people who were complete screw-ups, and he used them for his purposes. And I'm always amazed at the upper level story that happens in the middle of difficulties, in the middle of challenges, and how God turns around and he uses that for his good, even when people meant it for bad. And I look at my life and I know that I'm one of those people who has fallen, strayed, done my own thing, rejected God, and yet somehow he called me to do this. And there's a lot of times that I just don't get that. But I'm humbled, and I just so much want to be used by him. I want to see a generation of moms who don't attack each other the way that moms do. I hate the mom wars with such a passion. There's so many places where we divide the lines and we pit ourselves against each other because you do it differently than I do it. And to me, that's not okay. In the gray areas, we've got to give each other grace. We've got to support each other, because being a mom is hard enough without feeling judged and challenged by every other mom on the block. And so one of my hopes for Project Disciple Her is that it unifies us on what really matters, that it helps us to focus on the majors and give less creed and attention to the minors, and let those things slide, because we're all different. Even if we make exactly the same parenting choices, we're still going to parent differently. We're still going to see the world through different eyes. And the sooner we can get to accepting and supporting each other in raising our kids to be godly young adults, the sooner we're going to make huge progress with each other, the sooner that we're going to accomplish what we want to. Just want to see all the backbiting and the hurting end. One other thing that I think about often is that a lot of what holds us back as moms from discipling our girls is our own stuff, the things that we haven't dealt with, or the things that God is still working on in us. And I think that keeps us from being intentional with our girls, because we think that we have to somehow reach this level of perfection before we can turn around and before we can do that. But really, I think that God just wants to use us where we are. And so we have to put ourselves out there and say, I'm available. I'll do it for you. I think the funniest thing that happened while I was working on this course is that I wrote a children's story. I never meant to do that, but it happened, and I'm excited about it because it was interesting, because the illustration came to my mind, but it never really formatted into anything usable until one night I was working on my outline for the course, and I just sat down to write this for the moms, and it turned out to be this story that applies not only to us as women, but also to our girls as they grow up. And I'm working with a friend on getting it illustrated and actually published to put out there. But yeah, accidentally writing a children's book, that was probably the craziest thing that came out of this course. I never set out to be a children's author, but I'm just kind of curious to see what God will do with that.